All right. People are showing up. Hello, hello. I see some names that I recognize.
Do you really? I mean, it's been a hot minute since we did this.
It has been. Yeah. This is our first 2026 one.
It is. It is. We're up. I see a Kevin Miller.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got Texas. I see Jason Miracle. I don't remember where Jason Miracle lives. I'm looking for names that I know now. Hey, Mark Reinholds. I know that name. Mm, Mesa,
I
Arizona.
recognize Bradford Isbell. Bradford, you and I had an email exchange last week regarding the Able RMS. It's nice to have you here.
This is going to be a good day.
Love it. Love seeing where everybody is from. Tracy from Asheville, North Carolina. I am also in North Carolina, and welcome. Welcome that this is your first time. We hope that you enjoy it.
Milwaukee, Washington, D.C. We've got a whole Idaho from sea to shining sea. We don't have a California yet, though. Not my first time, but oh, we
Katie,
know
last time, best
Katie.
time.
I was like, who is saying that? They're so oh, they work with us. They get paid to say that. Neener, neener.
No, 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 they don't. So we have a former California moved to
All right.
Texas. I did the same
DC.
thing, David. I did the same thing.
Today's going to be fun. We're joined by people who don't mind picking on me. Not that everybody else on this phone picking on
I
me. So
don't know where you got that idea, but welcome, Jason and Matt.
apparently, we don't need to go over the rules of using the chat since people are doing it. This will be good. Good. I, I like that precedence has been set.
Yeah, it's a bummer. We've got somebody out there who is trying to figure out why they don't have audio, but I'm assuming that everybody else is good on audio, hopefully.
Always recorded.
David, always. We always record and we always send them out to everyone who registers, even though they attend or not. And then you can also find all of our webinar recordings on our website at kingdomcreations.ai. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick just sent you a link in the chat, David. All right. Well, we are almost, we're like 1 minute away from getting things going. Oh, great. Glad Bradford got the audio fixed. All right. Well, I guess we will start exactly on time. So, Chris, I'm going to start the recording and then I will let you launch in. You know what? The recording has already started. Is the recording started?
The recording has started.
Hey, I didn't even have to do that. Okay.
I'm
My
going to
job
say,
is made even easier.
I'll say hi real fast. I saw Don Wolf just popped in. So hi, Don. And then, all right, here we go. So, welcome back to another AI in Ministry. We are so excited you guys are here. It is 2026, and we thought, what better way to kick the year off than really kind of taking a little bit of a walk back through time, saying what's new, what's next, and what still wins. I kind of wanted to say what's still hot, but Trace said I couldn't do that. So, without further ado, we'll let Trace cover our housekeeping.
A little bit of housekeeping. I know I get the unfun part, but we already had this question in the chat. So yes, 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 we are recording. We always record. We will email you a copy of the recording as well as this very slide deck. We do ask that you please use the Q&A panel. Looks like you guys have all found the chat, but please use the Q&A panel for actual questions because that really helps us not to have to scroll through the chat to find out all of your questions. And the Q&A panel really helps us to like queue up your questions and get them ready for Q&A time. So And then if you're interested in checking out any of our past webinars, you can always find those at kingdomcreations.ai/webinars. We've got, gosh, we did a whole year of them last year. So there's a bunch of them to choose from now. All right, Chris, I think we need some introductions, don't you?
Yeah, we'll zip through these pretty quick. So if you haven't met me, I'm Chris Cahias. I lead innovation here at ACS. Also, I'll be your host and tour guide today. And if you are wondering, that photo was actually generated by AI. And yes, I was wearing a tuxedo t-shirt the day that that photo was taken. I very proudly wear it. We've got Trace Jackson, our innovation wrangler. As you've already figured out, she keeps things moving and grooving on our team and in these webinars. We got Patrick Abernathy, who will be our man behind the curtain today. So he'll be trying to answer questions, help you out, monitor the chat, etc. But he's also our senior developer and an integral part of our team. Jason Lee, longtime friend of mine. I love saying that part, but also the pastor of innovation at Northwoods Church. He and Matt Pugh are our guests, and they're going to share some really practical things that they've been doing. Matt Pugh, also somebody I've known a long time, IT director at McLean Bible, and I can't wait towards the end of the podcast where they get to show you some things they've been working on. Podcast, webinar, I get those mixed up, so sorry about that. All right, today's agenda, you already saw it. We're going to talk about new, next, things that are still winning, and then you're going to see some very practical things from a couple of our churches. And without further ado, let's get into this. So, what is new? This one will be kind of fun. We're going to get into some stuff that's happening. But before we do this, the thing that I want you guys all to realize, if you haven't already, AI is moving and moving very, very fast. So, Mo Gaudet, he's the former chief business officer, executive, whatever from Google. Yes, former. He left. AI is doubling every 5.7 months. So we basically are getting a doubling of compute and intelligence in AI roughly every 6 months right now. So what does this mean? This means that it's going to continue changing. It's going to continue upping its capabilities. And let's take a look at what that really means for the church. So in this latest copy from Exponential AI in the Church, this is kind of a survey report. There's definitely an uptick in both opinion about AI and its use in ministry, but also in the way the AI is being used by church leaders. So this was the 2025 report. So I expect that sometime this year we're going to see a 2026 report, but basically we're seeing 45% of church leaders are now using AI, we'll say regularly. And that's an 80% increase from 2024, which is interesting. But the more interesting one to me is this 91% of church leaders are for AI's use in ministry. That has a marked improvement from 2023 and 2024, where there was kind of, I don't want to call it, fear factor, but I think there was a lot more fear about it there. I think a lot of this is going to be based on the fact that we're seeing more and more tools come about that have been, traditionally used in the ministry space that are adding AI. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll cover some of that in just a few
Well,
minutes.
and I'm curious how real these numbers are with the audience that we have today. So we're just going to take a quick little poll here. Patrick's going to launch it. You should see it on your screen. And we're just interested in hearing what area of ministry you guys are excited about using AI for this year. You guys should be able to vote for multiple items, so feel free to do that. So far, we've got, admin and operations. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Oh, wow. These numbers are off to the races now. So it does look like admin and operations is taking the lead. I feel like I'm watching a horse race, you guys. This is kind of cool. I'll give you another second or two to go ahead and finish voting. All right, looks like things have stopped. So if we want to end the poll and maybe share the results so that you guys get to see. Yeah, so admin and operations topped it with 37 votes. That's awesome. Communications and social media, I can see that. Yeah, we're a little hesitant with pastoral care engagement. That's okay. Some of that stuff just needs to be from a human. But yeah, I totally get those of you who are in the still figuring it out camp. I feel like I'm still figuring it out every day and I'm working in AI almost every day as well. So
I like this still figuring it out. There's a
yeah.
subtle honesty to that one. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'm here. We're glad you're here. That makes it all the better.
All right. Let me stop the sharing and we will move on. Oops.
All right.
Hopefully that
So
left your screens. Okay.
in that vein of what's new, we'll take you through like these are all they're not really new. Like you've probably heard of all three of these, but what's new is they continue to level up. So even last week, last week we saw the simultaneous within 15 minutes of one another launch of GPT 5.3 codex and also Opus 4.6 on the Claude or the Anthropic side. Quick little timeout, bulletin point reminder. If this is your first time here and I'm using words that you have absolutely no meaning, what they are, don't worry. We'll give you the slides. You can go Google around and look at them. We've been doing this for a year, so we take a little bit of liberty in not explaining every one of these. But okay, now back to your regular scheduled program. So the big three, so ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they all continue to level up in their capabilities. So obviously, ChatGPT, even since we met, big improvements in deep research, custom GPTs, which we did a demo of at the Ministry Smart Conference last year. A lot of really cool things there. And obviously, you've got built in image generation via Sora. So we're really sharing this with you to say this one's kind of your everyday Swiss Army knife. I felt that way all of last year. ChatGPT, GPT, the mobile app, totally my go-to for everything. Lately, so the last 2 months, 2.5 months, Claude is kind of eking its way as my daily driver. So we'll share. Claude has taken massive leaps forward in the last couple of months with everything from co-work to launching the new model that we just talked about, but really is killing it in code generation. And the final one will say, I don't want to call it a dark horse, but maybe a sleeper is
Sleeper.
Gemini. Google was a little bit later getting going, but every iteration of Gemini Pro has been really amazing, really powerful. Notebook LM is in their ecosystem, which if you've never played with it, you can dump a whole bunch of text and data into it and get either podcast, two-person podcast talking about a topic really interesting in the education space. Really cool stuff. And they continue to drive a deeper and deeper integration into the Google ecosystem. So semantic search of documents and everything else. Really cool part about all of these, they're all free to get started. So it's a really good way to dip your toe into generative AI without getting fully baked in. Some of the other new things over the last couple of months, I'd say a little bit more nuance, but tools built specifically for ministry. I've met the team several times from Sermon Shots. They do really great stuff, able to take your entire sermon and then automatically kind of pull out the main points as little small videos, changing the format of the video from the widescreen format to the phone format where it's panning and zooming and moving around. Interprenet. We've done whole things on Interprenet where you can actually do AI-based live translation, audio to audio in multiple languages in your sanctuary. So really cool. For our Catholic friends who are here, we're going to kind of do a first time call out to Magisterium AI. So this is a Catholic first AI chat that answers Catholic questions and a very impressive website and chat system. They have invested a lot of time to really get the context right. So really, really cool. So these were kind of pointing out to you to say, there's not just this push in the very large, general large language model, but there are also people who are then taking those technologies and building more nuanced solutions specifically for different areas of ministry. And we think that is really cool. There's a couple more on there, but we're going to keep going.
I did want to mention, we've already gotten two questions in the Q&A. When we were talking about the big three on the previous slide, there was kind of this question about, well, what about Copilot? How does Copilot compare? How come they're not mentioned? Are they not up to the
So
same level or?
so the real thing with Copilot is not its own large language model. Copilot is a wrapper, usually historically around some version of OpenAI's ChatGPT. Microsoft has licensed Claude now, so I would not call Copilot one of the big three because it's not really the core technology. It is using an OpenAI or a Claude under the hood. There's nothing. I know Jason's doing a thumbs down. There will be many opinions on this phone call. I would say probably the prevailing opinion is most of us are probably not as excited about Copilot. But that's an opinion. It is a valid starting point if you're looking for a place to get started and you're already a Microsoft ecosystem player like you've got Office 365. It sure is convenient to turn it on, and you know that your data is going to be safe inside that ecosystem, which, going backwards to go forwards, we did a whole thing on AI governance. If you're new to all of this, it's worth a watch just because it's important that you understand there are, for all the good, there's also some things that you need to be aware of. So, but
Great.
Copilot's a very valid starting point. It's just not one of my big three because it's not a pure technology.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
All right, no list is complete without talking about media. Media honestly totally dominated most of the AI conversation last year. If we go back in time 2 years, you could barely get an image that looked like an image from a lot of the models. Last year, we saw things like specifically, I'll call out Flux and Sora coming into being last year, Ideogram a little later. These really brought image generation to the forefront. Now the new thing has been, the new things on this list really are going to be Nano Banana that launched really since we had our last webinar. Amazing ability to edit images, to be able to take any image you want, throw it in, and just start talking to it in natural language. I want you to add a sign. I want you to add a glowing sign. I want you, whatever you're looking for. Nano Banana has some pretty stellar capabilities. I'm going to, one little caveat for everybody: text is still tricky. So if you're trying to create an image and you wanted to put text in, one, always throw it in quotes. I don't care which model you're working on. Quotes mean it understands the beginning and the end. But number two, don't make it huge because it has a tendency to mess up. Nano Banana is doing better than most of the models I've ever seen, but it's still out there. On the audio front, Suno was a lot of fun. We talked a lot about that, able to create music, lyrics, all of it. 11 Labs in December added the same kind of capability, which I have not personally had a chance to play with yet, but 11 Labs is awesome for doing voice cloning. So, for instance, maybe your pastor stumbled over a word in a sermon and you want to go fix it without having to get him to re-record it. 11 Labs would give you kind of a way to go do that. In fact, I think there's a webinar out there where Jason even showed some of that from his church in the past. Last but not least, video, VO3 launching kind of late at the end of last year. And then the latest thing, if you want to see some killer looking AI video, Kling 3 just came out, and Kling and Runway would be my two top picks for doing video generation. Kling really is stealing the show at the moment because of their consistent scene and then the ability to literally control where the camera is in relation to what video is being generated. So really cool stuff. Media is probably beyond what we're going to try to hit today, but I just wanted to throw it in here to say a lot of neat stuff happening there. I think you'll continue to see the media push hard this year, especially on video. Consistent character in imagery is starting to become something that is very, very common. All right. Thinking about what's next. So what's beyond new? These are the things that have been new. Where are we going? We'll continue to say to you, it has been the position of our group. We're not trying to create tools or bring things to you that are going to replace people, but to amplify them. I think everybody in this room who's been close and near and dear to ministry knows, there are so many things that we have to do that take us from having time to be with people. It's always been our goal to say, hey, let's focus on those things. And the cool thing for me is our poll actually supports that. You guys are like, hey, the administrative stuff, the processing the paperwork, the moving the invoices, that's all stuff we could definitely, hopefully, get an AI to help us make happen so that we have more time to sit, to pray, to be with people. So we believe in the same thing here. So to that end, what's really coming this year? And this isn't just about church, but 2026 is going to be marked by a real movement towards AI agents. 2025 was supposed to be the year of the agent. And the truth is, we didn't get very far getting agentic technology, and not just the church, mind you, the church and even corporate side, not very far in getting agentic AI into the mainstream. Now, that said, agentic AI from a software development perspective has exploded. It's giving people the ability to create new things in an unparalleled way. But as we look to 2026, things we can expect, I do believe we're going to see a much more powerful generation of AI agents come to bear, multi-step tasks, thinking, and think through things like how cool would it be if you had an AI agent that simply handled the rescheduling, I'll call it that, of volunteers. Right now we've got some systems out there where, somebody calls out, hey, I can't serve in children's ministry this weekend. And, most of the technology that exists, the best it's going to do is go, okay, who else is certified to work in that area and is not working this weekend? Let's mass email all of them. Maybe it's cool enough to have a button and the first person to click the button gets it. But how amazing would it be if we had an AI agent that could not only look at who's not serving, but also look at who has served the most over the last 4 weeks? And we basically say, hey, let's start with the people at the bottom of that list so we're not, burning out certain volunteers ahead of schedule. So things like that are going to become possible. Personalized discipleship. And really think of this as personalization in general. Personalization is one of these things that a lot of companies have tried to push for on their websites and everything else. You know this if you've shopped on Amazon. It's personally curating the things that you looked at or the things you should buy next. But think about if we could personalize a discipleship journey, not just crafting reading plans, but even crafting next steps. And to date, that has been a little bit more difficult because you don't always have enough context in a simple, piece of math to figure that out. The great thing with AI is we can tell stories. We can take a look at the whole of a person. You could look at, hey, here's Jason. Jason is married. Jason has 2 kids. Jason does this, that, and the other. And it's kind of like, and here's all the things Jason has done at the church. We give all that to the AI, and now we have all the things that are possible. And you have something that can do, I don't want to say thinking. I'm not trying to insult the creation order and how God created man, but it can infer or simulate thought where it looks at that in a loop and basically goes, I think this is probably the best thing for him to do next. So think of that. Like, we're going to have some capabilities this year to really begin personalizing these roadmaps and experiences. I talked a little bit about InterpretNet earlier, but more and more is coming with translation. So as our churches try to be more multilingual, multicultural in their approach, AI is giving us not just the ability to real-time translate sermons and services, but even entire web UIs. So we built, and I believe it's out there for open beta right now, but we built a lifted kind of prayer wall. We called it Lifted. And the entire user interface and all of the prayers are available in multiple languages. And all of that is powered by AI. So AI is not only translating the user interface in real time, mind you, it's also doing the same work with the actual prayer requests.
Yeah, and Patrick did just post a link to our lifted prayer wall in the chat if you guys wanted to check it out.
Yeah, so very cool, very fun stuff. Obviously, we're going to see some things with smarter analytics and the ability. I think you're going to also see the fusion of some of these. We talk about personalization, but you'll also start to see things like the personalization of analytics, i.e., I am the home groups leader at my church. I don't really want to see everything. I want to focus on the home group stuff. So being able to use AI to personalize everything from dashboards and reporting and everything else, those are things we'll see kind of across the stratum this year. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to see them in every church product that you use, but I am saying they are the trends that will drive AI this year. And I hope we begin seeing those things. As we continue through 2026, I think one of the big ones is Harvard Business School quote goes great. It's not just an experiment on the side. It is rewiring how we get work done. And you're seeing a huge uptick. Now, I want to say something to everybody. If you're here and you haven't really done anything with AI yet, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're so behind the 8 ball. No, you're not. So let me say this to everybody. Right now, it's only penetrated about 30% of businesses, forget churches for the moment, businesses in the United States. So you're fine. As my friend Sean would say, paradoxically, late movers have a bit of an advantage because you're not spending all of your time experimenting with things that are ultimately going to go away. Our big three are our big three because they have staying power, as do our golden oldies that we'll get to in a minute. Again, another quote from the Artificial Intelligence Institute about AI agents. We're going to see an uptick in agentic AI being leveraged across all strata of businesses as we move through this year. So,
Speaking of,
speaking of, one of the tools that our team has spent a lot of time on, and I will just kind of, I'm not spoiling anything, but I will say the reason we have Jason and Matt here is uh, in late December and in January, we fully kind of transitioned our agentic coding to Claude code. And while some of you are going, I don't program, I don't need to hear about this, I want to say to you, Trace doesn't program. Matt and Jason also do not program or didn't. But I want Trace to show you some of the things she's doing that has absolutely nothing to do with code around Claude.
yeah. So Chris calls me one morning and he's like, "Hey, I think we need to spend some time together. I've got an experiment." And when he says things like that, I'm in. I love Chris's experiment. So we hop on a call. And the first thing he says is, "All right, open up your terminal app." And I'm like, "Wait, what? No, you guys do the code thing. I don't do, I didn't even know where the terminal app on my computer was. But anyway, he walks me through getting on terminal, setting things up. He had me install the Claude Code CLI. I didn't even know what a CLI was, right there in my terminal. And honestly, the whole setup just took minutes. And then he says, "Okay, now try interacting with our GitHub issues." GitHub is a repository where we keep issues. I'm the one that creates and manages all the issues for our dev team to actually go and do the programming. And that's Chris, Patrick, and our interns. But that's it. Like, that's my whole interaction with GitHub. So I start having Claude search for duplicate issues. I'm having them categorize them. I actually started using it to generate issues for me in the first place. And I think I slacked Chris maybe an hour into using it. I said, "This is my new best friend. My entire life has just changed." But then I started wondering, what else can I do with this? Because yes, I'm on GitHub. I'm managing issues. I'm moving things across the project board, but could I use Claude Code for other things that have nothing to do with development? And the answer, as you probably have already surmised, is yes. So I wanted to post an announcement in our internal communication software called Slack for this webinar. Normally that's open Slack. I think about the wording, I tweak it, I second guess, I finally end up posting it. And then, and in the meantime, I have to go and find the registration, all this kind of stuff. Instead, I opened up my terminal and I used Claude Code. It walked me through setting up the Slack CLI, and then I gave it the webinar title and description. Then it drafted the Slack post for me. I did ask for a few tweaks. I did this all in the terminal. And then when it looked right, I told it to post to Slack, and it did. I never opened Slack. I never copied and pasted anything. I just had a conversation with my terminal. So another example of how I've been using Claude Code is after a recent team meeting, I had a bunch of notes, decisions, next steps, workflow, stuff that we had just talked through. Normally, turning a workflow into something visual would take time. I'd have to pull up a diagram tool. Maybe we'd have a follow-up meeting. Maybe it just never happens at all. But instead, I dropped the entire meeting transcript into Claude Code right in my terminal and simply asked it to turn the new project workflow into a graphic. And Claude summarized the process, clarified the steps, and then generated this clean visual diagram that I was then able to share back with the team. So in a matter of seconds, I went from a transcript to an actual workflow graphic by just talking to my terminal. And using Claude Code via terminal, I mean, I kind of made a joke, but it really has changed how I work in a very short amount of time. In fact, we've gotten pretty chummy. And since I'm the only girl on the innovation team, I decided to name it Claudia for some female camaraderie. And the entire team has now embraced the nickname. They know what I mean when I talk about Claudia. And in fact, one of our newest internal solutions is called Claudia. It's kind of a thing now. And it seems that now my Claude Code has embraced his new name as well. So that was a fun little conversation that I had with Claude Code yesterday.
So we know that some of you probably just glassed over when we said terminal, and you see that green matrix style text in a black window, and you're like, DOS was before I was born, or maybe DOS was so long ago I don't want to remember. And to that end, I will say this is the interesting thing about the space that we're in. If we go backwards to go forwards, it's changing so fast that I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit about what Anthropic did. So, Anthropic built Claude Code for that, for coding, for people to build code with. The funny thing is that all emergent technologies, people figure out how to take advantage of them. I know that my ministry platform customers always abused everything we ever built in ways we never imagined they would. And I'm sure that none of you in this room have probably done that. Like, you know that we built this to do that, but you discover, oh, it could also do this other thing. That's what happened with Claude Code. People discovered Claude Code doesn't just write code, it's a generic agentic looping framework that can honestly do anything. So Anthropic collects all this data and they're going, people are using Claude Code to remind them to do things. They're using Claude Code to go do other things on their computer. So in just 10 days, they built and released Cowork. Okay. I'm saying that it's next because it is so new still that it's going to be amazing. Okay. So Claude Cowork is, we'll call it Claude Code for those of you who don't want to deal with the code part. Okay. It's designed to actually do things on your computer. So I'm going to run you through a quick one. I did this on my Mac. Oh, formal note for all of you Windows fans. Sorry, Claude Cowork is not yet available for you. It is Mac only for the time being. Expect it to come sometime soon,
Wah, wah.
but Claude Cowork, let's go ahead through these trace. So I actually just had it, simple thing. Hey, organize my downloads folder. Don't know about you. I tend to download stuff and it never gets cleaned up. And I had, I don't know, a bunch of stuff in my download folder. So I said, organize it. It asks for permission. Then it comes back and it tells me, hey, I found 60 things or so. Keep going in my download folder. How do you want to organize it? I said, sure. Shove it all in folders so I can look at it by category or type. So it did it. It tells me all the stuff it did. And then voila, there is my downloads folder and it's nice and clean. Now, I expanded some of these and looked at them. And guess what the very next thing I told it to do was? That's right. Delete all of the installers. We don't need them because we can download them again. Of course, it says I'm about to delete some stuff. And of course, I hit allow. So this is a fantastic example of things that Agentic is going to be able to do. Claude Cowork does a lot more than just organizing your download folder. It can actually go interact with the system and do other things. But example, here it is, and it's still maintaining that human in the middle. I did not give it permission to just go do whatever it wants. And I will continue to say I kind of recommend that you don't do that until you are ready for the ramifications of such. But
And we do have
yeah.
a couple of other questions. If I think it's a good time to go ahead and hit you with those.
Okay.
One of them is this similar to Perplexity in the new Comet browser?
Not really. Perplexity is still going to be more of a deep research tool. It's going out and scouring the web and pulling data back. Honestly, I think Perplexity is radically going to find itself in trouble because each release of Claude and ChatGPT, they all have native web capabilities now. If you tell Claude or ChatGPT to go search the web, they can do it. And in fact, Google's deep research, well, ChatGPT and Google have a deep research mode that is insane. It'll go churn and burn for up to 20 minutes and give you a fully cited list, almost research paper style citation of things it finds. This is not. This is more about agentic automation within your actual computer, not necessarily the browser. It will drive a browser as well. So will Claude natively.
All right, one other question is, can you create an agent to verify AI illusions?
Illusions or hallucinations? So we're probably talking more hallucination. So that's a fun question. And my gut says the answer is possibly. It would depend on the hallucination. The way I would probably end up trying to tackle that is I would go cross model. So one of the things that we kind of showed off before with a tool called Boodlebox was the ability to actually take two different models and compare the output. But that's probably how I would go after it, is having multiple models rally around one topic.
Okay. All
Cool.
right, moving on.
All right. So let's get into the golden oldies. We want to just share like tools that we have talked about over the last year that we still use, that we still think are awesome. We might even augment the list a little bit. Big one here is, we also want to talk about tools that maybe you've been using for a while as a church that have AI. So don't start over, just start wiser. We liked this quote for this one. So obviously, ChatGPT, Claude, we'll throw Copilot, Gemini in there. Your day in, day out tool for brainstorming, outlining, drafting. I got to be honest, like I'm a huge Claude fan, but I have a ChatGPT thread that has every email I have ever created and sent to. I have about 40 home group leaders personally, the part of my volunteer ministry. And ChatGPT has written all of my emails. So it has a style that it copies from email to email. It does the cute little icons like you saw Trace do, things that I would never do. And it helps me write in a little bit more creative fashion. Canva, like this has been around church. I mean, this has been powering churches for probably a solid 10 years, but they have added some really slick AI powered design features to really amplify what you're doing. And, look at that little thing at the end. Canva is free for nonprofits. So if you're looking for a cool tool that really is keeping up on the AI front, and I would say even pushing forward, Canva is awesome. And then there's this thing called Fathom. And I don't even know if I like Fathom
Hey, 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 hey. You love Fathom. Fathom used to be my best friend, and then I met Claudia.
Fathom
But
is like a babysitter. It's your babysitter for me. I don't know. Go on. Fathom's awesome.
it is. Okay, seriously. Fathom is amazing. And you can get it for free too. So if you haven't tried it, I absolutely recommend it. But here's how it works. You bring it into your meetings. It takes a little virtual seat. It records the entire call. And afterwards, it gives you, the entire recording, audiovisual, and a full transcription. It will summarize the meeting. And then my favorite part is it will generate action steps, AI generated action steps. So it's going to pull out what needs to happen and who's responsible for each thing. And for everything that it generates, summaries, action steps, all that kind of stuff, there's a direct link in it right back to the exact moment in the recording. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't remember it coming out that way, or you just wanted to pick up on any nuances from that moment in the meeting, you can go back to the recording in that little time slot and listen to it for yourself. But honestly, I have found that Fathom is usually right. It has a much better memory than I do. So if I didn't remember it coming out that way, it's because my own memory faulted me. Um, so in fact, remember earlier when I said that I took a meeting transcript and I dropped it into Claudia to create that little workflow diagram? That came straight from Fathom. So tool stacking is also your friend. Um, and on our team, I've developed what Chris calls Fathom drops. So I'll just kind of jump into his meetings, drop Fathom in to start the recording, and then I bail. But then Fathom picks up everything that he commits our team to doing because somehow between the end of the meeting and the end of the day, things get forgotten, right? Maybe that's why Chris says he doesn't like it. But Fathom doesn't forget, it catches everything, and it's basically, in my opinion, a superpower.
It is. It's good stuff. All right, we're gonna blast through the last of these. So the golden oldies, they still win. They're easy to learn. They're free or affordable. They definitely provide ROI. Like, it definitely, like I would say, Fathom saves Trace specifically at least. I bet more than that number, 5 to 7. I bet it's a solid 8 to 16 hours a week, just keeping up and keeping things organized. Claudia, whatever we're gonna call it, I don't even know how to do the math on how much time it's saving. And these tools keep getting better. Some other tools out there, again, the list is so long, but other tools that we've been looking at, Logos, a lot of your pastors have used it. They've added some pretty awesome new research and AI capabilities to Logos. The Adobe Suite, Canva, enough of those. And we are going to come right around the horn and go, let's talk about some things that our customers are doing, because you don't always want to hear from us. So Matt, take it away.
All right. Hey guys. So one of the things that we've been working on here at McLean is overall we've rolled out this McLean Bible Institute. So just a way to kind of deepen your biblical knowledge. We've got different programs within the institute. So kind of like Basic Doctrine 1, Basic Doctrine 2. Um, those are the only two that we've taught so far. So there's going to be more coming along inside that program. But we started building this out on the MP side, but we really wanted to make it easier to manage from a registrar perspective, but also give some tools to the instructor and to the students to be able to kind of interact through like a syllabus or extra notes or the slide deck or assignments, quizzes, things like that. But we also wanted to track attendance, so all the things that would kind of go into managing a class. So you could think of it as an LMS, but this isn't like a choose your own LMS. We're using this to manage the classes that are in the Institute. So you can see on this is an admin dashboard that we made. So I made all of this within Claude Code within 2 weeks. In reality, that's not 2 weeks of steady time. That's 2 weeks of when I had some time to really kind of devote to it. So in reality, it was maybe 48 hours total of time. So not really that much. But from talking to other vendors to build something like this would have been something in the potential 6 digits range to build from scratch. Um, and I did it with $100 a month subscription to Cloud Code. So you can go hit the next screenshot. So this is kind of a view of the courses. It's grabbing a lot of this data, the course and the groups and the instructor and the attendance if it's already present and the registration from Ministry Platform. It's single sign-on with Ministry Platform. So it's pulling all of that data in. I've got a cron job that runs every night that syncs it in. And then each time the user logs in, it automatically syncs any data related to them so they can make sure that they're in the right class when they log in and see their enrollment. You can kick the next one. Uh, I realized as I was building this out that I wasn't in any of the courses and I wasn't an instructor. And so I just asked Claude Code to create for me an impersonation function. So you can see at the top right now, you're viewing this screenshot as the instructor, which I am not. And so this gave me viewpoint into seeing how the instructors and the teachers would interact with the students for all the different angles because I really had four different types of users. There were super ad instructor, student, and the enrollment person. Now I can't remember the name. But I just told it in plain English, create for me an impersonation function, and it made it. So you can hit the next screenshot. I asked it to create for me a way to take quizzes and have them self-graded. And so it literally made me a whole module where you go in and you add in your questions. And then when someone submits it, it tracks when it was submitted, who was submitted by, it auto grades it and that sort of thing. So that was all completely like, so a lot, that whole design was literally made by Claude Code. I gave it zero other input except for the fact that I wanted it. Hit the next screenshot. Uh, so one of the things that a third party that we had been talking to about building this was really focused on was putting in video function because they thought LMS meant all this was taking place online. We said, well, it's something we could potentially want for like hybrid environments. And so I thought to myself, well, while I'm building this, I might as well try to recreate everything that they were going to build and see how I could do it. So I had history with Jitsi, and so I told Claude to pull Jitsi in, and it did a bunch of stuff, and it didn't work the way I wanted to. And so then I just asked Claude, is there any other options out there that would do what Jitsi does, but keep it the inline on that page, not kick out to another app or to another tab, hit the next screenshot, and it did. So it built in a full hybrid video conferencing utility directly into the class session inside the application with full chat, screen sharing, you name it, it's kind of in there. And so it's just built in, completely in line. Now it's a service called itfounddaily.co was the service it's using for that. You can get a free license for it with, I think, like it's like 10,000 minutes a month or something like that before you have to tap into paying for it. So this was kind of a fun add-on that was free that we can use to a certain point before we ever actually have to pay for it. If you get the next screenshot. This was, I wanted, so two things here. So programs, it's kind of graphing for how many people have made it through the Institute journey and how many milestones they've put in there. But I also wanted a way, as we were testing this out for staff, to let me know when they were finding things. So I basically told it to build me a feedback function that would allow me to report if it was a bug or a feature request. It reports when, what page it was hit on, what the user was, what the user's role was. And then I said, you know what? Can you automatically take a screenshot of the page you're on and then give me some options to annotate it? And I asked for that and it did it. So it actually takes a screenshot in line inside the application and then saves it in. And so it creates a log. Go ahead and hit the next screenshot. It creates a log of that feedback report. And then I simply go into Claude and say, hey, take a look at the feedback report, find all the latest ones and just fix them. And it does because it already has all the information it needs. It knows what page the problem was on. It knows the user experience. It has a screenshot and it has if it's annotated, like it was something new they wanted. And it just automatically does it and then lets me know. And then on my front page, when a new feature has been rolled out, it actually updates that on the front page of here's the new things that are going on. I don't know if I've got another screenshot here, do I? No. Okay. So then another thing that I built that I didn't take a screenshot of because it's a harder thing to take a screenshot was I was like, okay, well, now that I'm apparently a true developer, I got to do true developer things. So what do you do when that's the case? You create Easter eggs into your application. So I built a full-fledged game that hides inside the application. And I didn't tell people where it was or how to get to it, and so I've got all these staff members like poking around trying to find it. I've had one person find it on their own without being told. But it's yeah, it's pretty clever, and the game actually tracks your high score. It's got a top 10 board, but because the user is logged in when they're accessing it and knows who's actually making the score, I can go in and see a log of when it's happening. So I can tell if they're actually playing the game during the class. It's been a lot of fun. So anyway, this is anyway, very cool.
This is so good.
Reality is
And
you spent more time developing the game than you did this application.
There may be some truth to that. Because I would mess around with making the game at night, but like I've got it. It's yeah, it's just a standard kind of scroller, and you're jumping over things and collecting Bibles as you go. But the background and everything, the graphics have improved week over week as I go in and go, hey, can you try this? The longer you play it, the sun goes over and sets, and then the moon comes out, and then the guy pulls out a flashlight because it's dark. It's a whole thing.
your background is totally software development, right? You're you're hardcore developer.
No, no. Well, I went into college, computer science degree, and I graduated with a psychology degree, and so here we are.
So we'll come back to that. All right, Mr. Lee, you're up. This is awesome, Matt. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so I've just enjoyed watching Matt on his journey because really we've seen Matt start this project, I think, after the first of the year. So not even in the last 8 weeks is when Matt has really kicked the tires on some of this. So it's been fun. So I was able to kind of invest in Matt to get him started because Chris was kind of and Patrick were investing in me last fall. And last fall, Chris had been building a few things for me, Patrick helping with a few things, and they both are like, you can do this on your own. You don't need our help. Go do this. And so they challenged me to really just come up with some projects that I could kind of think about and play with the tools. And so I got Claude Code set up and was working with it. And the first thing I thought about is, okay, what problem do I have that's not work related that I can just spend some time on and try to solve a problem? And so I'm on the board of directors for a camp in Southern Michigan, a church camp. And for our board of directors, they have these 1990-ish charts and graphs. Okay, it's a bar graph. That's all it is. It's like 5 bar graphs that tell us the progress of how we're doing organizationally as a year. And I was like, we can do better than this. So literally, I took the CSV that they export out of their software, an Excel file that they bring the data into, and the nasty bar graphs, and I dropped them into Claude, and I said, hey, I want to build a dashboard with KPIs, key performance indicators for the camp. What can we come up with? And I probably have, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours in this dashboard. And the staff now can log in using the accounts that it's created for them. They can add the data, and as data gets added, it updates the dashboards. As I was working on the project, I was like, well, what if I wanted to see a point in the year? I want to see what happens in March and compare it to last year. So it created the slider that I can go do that. So this is one of those projects that I was kind of working on in my side time, just trying to learn how to use the tools, and got started with that. Next project I was working on is really a real personal project for our family. My wife and I and our family calendars need to stay in sync. So I need to know where I need to be and what things are on our calendars. And so I had been paying for a application that had to run on a computer and had to have access to Microsoft Outlook and a few other things to make the calendar sync work. And it just wasn't working well anymore. I was like, let me kick the tires on this. So I used Claude Code to build this workflow in N8N that checks my wife's Outlook calendar, my Outlook calendar, and our family's Google Calendar, and then synchronizes all of those with select categories that we tag events in the different calendars with. And so my wife can add things to my calendar. I can go in and mark it as free or busy on my own calendar without screwing up her calendar. And honestly, I don't have a clue how most of these nodes even work in N8N. I just simply gave API access to N8N with Claude Code and let it drop in the workflow for me. And I would say don't try syncing things as your first project that you do with AI. That was probably my worst decision ever. And my wife said in the month of November, she asked when she would stop being the calendar widow, because I was spending an inordinate amount of time trying to get this synchronization working. But I learned a lot in the process, and now our family has a calendar that works for everybody. So, and I would not start with sync. That's what I learned. The
I
next
feel like I
project,
remember somebody saying to you, syncing is
nobody
bad.
nobody ever said that was a bad place to start. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think you or Patrick cautioned me on that at all. But I learned my lesson. This other project was from Christmas. I lead the video team as well, and so my son was helping our team. We film the Christmas production live in the room for IMAG, but we also film it for an online cut. And so my video team that was filming it needed just to know how many, where they were in the songs, so that they could plan their shots and get their cues right. And we bought the ProPresenter mobile app, thinking it would tell us how many slides were left in the slide deck, and it doesn't. And it was really irritating that it didn't. And so my team turned to me and said, well, couldn't we do that with Claude? And I was like, I don't know. So we literally told Claude, hey, we bought this app. It doesn't do what we want to do. We simply just need to know how many slides are remaining in a song. So Claude then built a diagnostic app that it could capture packets from what ProPresenter was doing. It reverse engineered the 2 APIs that ProPresenter has and created this HTML file that you can launch on an iPad. It calls home to the ProPresenter computer. It counts down how many slides are in the song. It turns red when you get less than 10 slides in the song, and then it just tells you what's going on throughout the service. So that took us about 15 minutes to spin that up once we got the diagnostic mode working and we're able to connect to ProPresenter. So that was kind of fun. The next one, yeah, this is not brand compliant, I've been told by our communications team, but literally for our financial campaign, we needed to do some updates for our staff. And so I literally took a screenshot of the logo, not even an actual file of the logo, just took a screenshot off our website of the logo and said, hey, add a construction hat and add construction updates with the construction theme. And I dropped it into Banana Nano. And after one shot, I got this, and I was like, that's good enough. We're going to move on. And so that's our current construction update image that we created. And then this next thing, we have our building scheduling software that our team didn't love the way that the wayfinding looked throughout our building. And so they took the URLs that the provider gives us and they dropped them into Claude and started working with it. And they came to me with this layout. And the main screen rotates through and there's an animation on the what's happening now, so you know where you are in the schedule. And I asked my team, I said, how did you do this? And they said, well, we basically just told Claude, this is what we have to work with. Can you help us make a better version? And so then I went into Claude and said, no, tell me technically, how did you do this? And Claude basically said, well, I reverse engineered the tool that was there, found the API key, and began talking to the database. And here's what I have to work with. And so now we have this new web interface. So that was kind of a fun project. Then the next thing that my team has been working on is let's watch this video. So as this plays, this has been created by my content creator who does social media for us. And he's been reading or watching a lot of YouTube videos about speed reading in the Bible. And so he's created this app that you can speed read the Bible. And so he's hooked this application up to the API for YouVersion and actually has published this app with his own developer account. And it's free. It's in the Apple App Store. And the point behind this is the research he had been doing is if the words don't move on the screen and your eyes don't have to move up and down, you can comprehend and read a lot faster. And so he's been working with Claude Code to build this app and published it within the last 3 days. And he's actually reading between 500 and 900 words a minute with a high level of comprehension because of this app that he's built. The next thing that my team has built is this one's crazy.
We have this one in 1 Corinthians 1:13 through 15. He said, is Christ divided? Was Paul crucified for you?
So what you saw just happen there is we're running Whisper. It's listening to our pastor talk, and it's listening for any time a scripture verse is mentioned by our pastor. It then goes and queries the ProPresenter plugin. It knows that it mentioned 1 Corinthians. It goes and gets 1 Corinthians, creates a slide with the template that we have created on the fly. And then with about 2 seconds after the pastor says a verse that wasn't in his manuscript, we can click a button and show that verse on screen. And so I said to my team, is this a problem we need to solve often? And they're like, well, it happens once in a while. And we really just wanted to see, could we accomplish it? Could we try it? And so they've got Whisper running in the background, listening to all of our messages all the time now. And so these slides are being created on the fly. So if the pastor mentioned something that wasn't mentioned in his manuscript and we weren't prepared ahead of time for, they can just click the button and put that up on the screen. And then this one actually was from this weekend. Like literally I was producing the service this weekend and I hear my video director say to my video engineer, he says, hey, I really wish that we have two computers. We have a lyrics computer and a graphics computer. He's like, I really wish the volunteer knew which computer I currently had up on screen in the auditorium while we're running the service. And depending on if it's graphics or lyrics or if it's an illustration or whatever it may be, it's one of the two computers. And so he said, it'd be nice if there's just a tally on that computer. And literally within 15 minutes, my video engineer says to me, hey, come check this out. And I go down to video control and he's pushing buttons on the video switcher and it's changing the red box around ProPresenter on the two different computers to tell the volunteer which computer is live on screen in the room so that they're not, changing the setting or moving to the wrong slide when they're live on the video. And so that actually went live this weekend for us, for our volunteers.
This is so cool. And 6 months ago, you guys were not doing any of this, right?
No, I would call you all the time and be like, "Hey, I need the thing. Who can I go? Who can I go contract to build a thing?" Right? And so then we had 4, 5, 6, 8 different developers that we were working with, and now we're able to iterate so much faster because we're able to say, "Here's a problem. It existed 15 minutes ago, and now we have a solution." And honestly, who am I going to go contract and pay to build a perimeter red banner on ProPresenter? I'm never going to invest money in that, but because I've already paying for Claude Code, we have the option to say that's a problem we need to go solve right now, and we can give it away to others.
We're going to kind of jam through the last of these slides, so we hope we have a minute or two for questions, and some of us will hang out late. Matt, Jason, thank you guys. Huge thanks to today's sponsor, Claude or Claudia as well. Real fast, if you are all new and this is all a little overwhelming, please don't be. Everybody on this call has been doing AI pretty extensively for the last 2 years. Matt only started playing with Claude Code back in January. And again, Jason said, as you heard, around Thanksgiving time, a little before Thanksgiving, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, we kind of ran a little experiment with him to see if we could get somebody who is comfortable with technology, but not necessarily a developer up to snuff. So your action plan. How do I get started? One, scan that QR code, go get your free avatar. All of us had those fun little AI generated avatars at the beginning. Why? It's fun, it's free, it's easy. My team built the avatar generator. There's probably 40 different ways you can take a picture of yourself and have it mess with it. It's fun, it's neat, it's free. You probably want to get started with something like GPT, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Copilot, because the text-based stuff is where you really get going. And then, this week, next week, the following week, pick a tool to try. Canva, Fathom, Adobe, they've all got AI bits in there. We'll continue to tell you, keep humans in the loop. And if all this is overwhelming, we do have a partner, Boodlebox. We've done a number of webinars with them. Boodlebox is an awesome way to get started because you get access to all of the models we talked about. Now, caveat, you cannot use Claude Code with Boodlebox, but you can play with Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Nano Banana, Flux, all the image generators, everything. One cool price. Again, if you're brand new, scan that QR code, throw in ACST free, and they are a partner of ours. You'll get a month for free. Great options, a lot of stuff in our webinars. Again, go back to in time. Lots of webinars last year, probably 12 out there. And you can go to Kingdom Creations and see all of our recordings, all of our projects that we're working on, and play with them and have access to our partners.
And speaking of the webinar recordings, we've mentioned several different webinars that we've done kind of woven throughout this webinar, but just you can kind of get a glimpse of some of those things. In fact, that fourth bullet down, AI in your media workflows, we did have Jason Lee join us, and he shared a lot about what his church is doing, specifically his media ministry. So that's a really cool one. You guys want to check that out. Wow, we are, I don't
at
know
time,
if we have...
but we'll do some questions.
Woo! Well, we do have one question still in the Q&A panel. Somebody was asking if we knew if Boodlebox was going to introduce like a video production AI into it.
Probably not, and I'll tell you why. The video AIs are rather pricey. They burn tokens really quickly. So, having talked with their CEO a couple times, they may, but if they do, it'll probably be kind of as an add-on anyway. So, if you're excited about working with some of the video AI, I don't know which one, Jason, you and your team are playing with, but I mean, I can personally vouch for both Runway and Kling. They're great. They're fun. But it's kind of another level of experimenting.
Yeah, we've been using Runway.
That was the last question that we actually had in the Q&A panel. I know some people, I was trying to keep up with the chat. There might have been some questions there that we didn't quite get to. For those of you who aren't familiar, we typically will hang out afterwards for an after party. So if you have joined us, on the recording, once you guys are listening to the recording, this is kind of where we're going to end things. So thank you for joining us. But for those of you that are here live, this is where we're going to move to the after party, and I will kill the recording.